Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I feel like many times when I'm on a podcast, I'm talking about stress and anxiety, but there's a reason for that because it's big now. After COVID, we had a lot of anxiety during that time, and then it still stayed with many of us. And then with the world situations going on, all of that, we've got it. It's here. Need to deal with it. But what if you could not have to use medication? Nothing wrong with that if you need it. But what about if you were to deal with your anxiety and stress holistically? We're going to talk about that today. She's a physical therapist, certified emotion code practitioner, intuitive energy healer, and so much more. And we're going to get a lot of insight from Mila Velazquez on the program. Welcome. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for having me here, Steve.
Very excited to talk with you. And this began with a conversation that we had a couple of weeks ago and your view on all of this stuff. Now, let's start by saying we're all energy. If you haven't realized it, you need to realize it because that's the beginning of your healing journey. Everything is energy. Your energy at a certain vibration. I am a certain vibration. This piece of paper has its own vibration, obviously different than both of us and everything else. And once you realize that there's energy going on there, that's where the change can take place, right?
Right, exactly. And our feelings and our emotions are also vibrations. And what happens is, stress is reported to cause 95% of all of our illnesses. And, what is stress? It's just a plethora of symptoms that the body is trying to kind of, and it's an attempt to reestablish homeostasis. It gives you all these symptoms. And again, that's all energy that comes in. And so an emotion is energy. And when we experience a very painful or intense emotion, it stores in our bodies like emotional baggage. And stress is supposed to come in and it's supposed to exit. But when it comes in and it doesn't exit and starts to vibrate at a different energy, it causes deterioration to your organs, makes us very reactive, gives us a plethora of symptoms, pain, nervousness, worry, anxiety. And so if we can, get to the underlying root cause of an issue, release that energy, the body has a way of healing itself because our bodies have an innate way of healing themselves. And as an emotion code practitioner, that's exactly what we do. We use energy.
And that being said, this was my eye opener, and it only came maybe like 6 months ago, where I heard that things you experience, let's say stress, obviously it's going to take a toll on certain parts of your body. But I heard that it goes down to the cellular level. It's everything. It's not like, lack of a better description, you've got stress. A lot of us, our stress is centered here, or some of us in our stomach, and you have digestive issues because of stress and anxiety. And a lot of us know that, but it goes deeper than that, down to the cellular level. Basically, it overtakes your entire body in some form.
Yes. Your hormones, it affects your hormones, it strikes your endocrine system, our mood changes because of it, cortisol levels start going off, we get even more frightened, our whole body goes into chaos, there's a disruption, and it starts with our energetic system where the bioenergetic field, junk comes in, stress, and before it lands into our physical bodies, it has to go through all of our emotions, all of our spiritual levels, all of our mental layers, until it gets in, and our physical bodies are the last stop. And this is where our hormone levels go wild, our mood goes wild, we become unstable, and we get pain. As a physical therapist, when patients come to see me with, let's say, knee pain or back pain, I look at it from a very structural point of view. But when I can't find anything structural to cause this pain, I don't say that this pain is not real. This is a real pain to them. I then look at what is another underlying reason why they would have pain. And a lot of it is stress. Again, when the stress comes in, it has to have an exit. When it doesn't have an exit, it can, plant itself in the back. So for example, people that are worried all the time and are in fear about their finances, they all tend to have low back pain.
Never heard that.
Yes.
Wow.
Neck pain, is very common. Chest pain, heart pain. You go to the cardiologist, and the cardiologist does a echocardiogram and nuclear stress test, and they can't find anything with their hearts. Nothing is wrong. Everything is great. However, you feel like you have an elephant sitting on that chest. Why? Because energetically, there are emotions that are sitting there that could be grief, that could be betrayal, that you've never dealt with. Why? Because you had an experience that was emotionally charged. It came into your heart, and every time you think about it, you get heart pain. Dizziness is another thing that I work with all the time.
Okay, let's go there. This is big stuff here. Let's say you're dealing with that betrayal, whatever. You're angry at somebody, they did you wrong, they ruined your life, maybe ruined your family's life.
That's right.
How do you deal with that? How do you help somebody with that?
Right. So what I do is I have to get to the root cause of the problem. I identify the underlying root cause of the problem, and I tap into your nervous system, into the subconscious, and I use applied kinesiology or manual muscle testing, and I ask, what's the underlying cause of an issue? So let's say your issue is, I hate my wife. I can't get over this relationship. She's ruined my family. And every time I think about it, it makes me crazy, right? Mm-hmm. Or every time I have to deal with her, I become reactive. So I ask, what's the underlying cause? And your subconscious knows absolutely everything.
Agreed.
And when I test yes and no questions. What's the underlying cause for you to, let's say, hate your wife? And I will test, what's the emotion behind it? And I find the exact emotion and I release that energy, because that emotion sits there and it vibrates at a different frequency than your own body, causing you to react every time you have to think about your ex-wife.
In that situation, are you able to, I love this word, eradicate
absolutely
that bad energy?
Immediately.
You answer my question. Okay. When you're working with somebody on that level, how do you do the muscle testing, and can you do that virtually?
Absolutely. So I can do this different ways. I can do it, number one, face to face, where I test your nervous system on you and ask you questions by you putting out your arm, and I manual muscle test your arm as I'm speaking to you. I'm really truly speaking not to you cognitively, but I'm speaking to your subconscious, and through your nervous system, I can test you. I can also, because energy is everything and energy is everywhere, with the permission of a person, I can tap into your bioenergetic field and test your nervous system on my nervous system using my fingers. I can do it on animals, on horses, on dogs, and on cats, and on children. I can also do it another way, is if I can hook up two people together and use a surrogate, just like a fence. You know, that good old fence that if you're standing outside in the middle of a rain and the lightning hits the fence and anybody that's holding that fence, the energy will go through. Mm-hmm. So with the intent that if I hook you up to a child to test that child, I can test that child through testing your nervous system. And it works just as well. Whether you're in person, whether you're, miles away. I have children that I work with that are in San Francisco, and I can always, their parents say to me, Mila, I know when you worked on my child, because the next day I see a whole difference. The crying stops, the anxiety stops, or the pain stops. Animals, when I work on an animal, let's say a horse that's in Minnesota, and the behavior changes right away. The way that I can get in is only by permission from the owner. It's the laws of the universe. I cannot get in without someone's permission, because it is energy.
For anybody that's hearing this and thinking, those two people are whacked and crazy. I get it. However,
Right.
everything that you're talking about in different shapes and forms, I've experienced, and I'm a skeptic. I'm going to
Right.
tell you. And I've worked even, we talk about intuitive. I've worked with some of the best mediums on the planet, and I've seen it in action.
Right.
I try to punch holes in it, and I'm like, how'd you do that? It's legit. The people who know what they're doing are legit. And what you said before, in my journey, I've learned that through our subconscious, you have all the answers, each one of
Absolutely.
us. We know, like if you're facing a challenge, a situation, a problem, and you're like, nah, I'm not really sure what I should do. You know what to do. You do. Unfortunately, the conscious gets in the way, life gets in the way, and you can't listen within. But that's what you're talking about, where you're able to tap the subconscious and pull the answers out, or
Right.
pull what somebody is really dealing with. Because I think you'll agree, sometimes we think it's one thing, but maybe it's another thing. Maybe you don't have that clarity. The muscle testing intrigues me. I've tried doing it before, different techniques. The sway test,
Right.
where you sway back and forth. You make a statement, and you do a baseline test. So it's a false statement, like my name is Mila,
Right.
and you sway a certain way. Okay, I'm swaying forward, so that means it's a wrong answer. Then you say my name is Steve, and then you notice, all right, now I'm swaying back. I've tried it, kind of successful in that. I'm just giving you an example. Is it possible for us to do this muscle testing on our own? Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah.
You have the innate ability of to heal yourself. If we can calm down that thinking brain, that chatterbox, and
Mm,
truly listen to our inside and connect to that higher guidance, to our gut feeling, and using the manual muscle testing, we can do that. And that's almost like a cheat sheet of learning how to use your intuition. So I teach people all the time, what are you truly feeling? Use your muscles and test yourself. There's the sway test. There's the, finger test. You put your fingers together, and if you stay strong, so if I say my name is Mila, I will stay strong. If I say my name is Steve, I will go weak, because my nervous system says that's not my, name. And yes, people say, well, this is crazy. This is voodoo. This is nuts. Are you nuts, Mila? No, I have a master's degree in sciences, and all this is the science of quantum mechanics and quantum physics. It's what Einstein used to teach us, only it's coming back around, and we need this. We have to close the chatter in our minds to really know what is it that our heart and our soul needs. Where did we go wrong? Where are our
hmm.
false beliefs coming from? What's happening? Where is the stress and the trauma sitting there causing chaos in our life that's preventing us from being abundant and happy and healthy? And I think this is a very, bioenergetic, I think medicine is going to be our future, because we've come to the conclusion that patching it with pharmaceuticals is a patch. It's not 100% of a healer.
Yep.
And it causes other issues. You take something for one thing, and then all of a sudden, a few years later, you have another issue, and it's a patch. But your innate knows what makes you sick, and it also knows how to heal you. So if we take it from the inside and we speak to that subconscious that knows absolutely everything, release some of those energies that are sitting there causing us to have issues, emotional baggage, and dis-ease, really.
Mm,
Release it, put in all the good stuff, and bingo, we change our lives.
yeah.
We heal our sicknesses mentally, physically, emotionally.
So let's go back to identifying there's bad energy.
Right.
Go back to that situation you had before. A spouse did you wrong. Just it was catastrophic for you. You identify that there's a situation and there's energy that's just stuck. It's not serving properly. How do you, here's that word again, eradicate that negative energy? Is it through something like chakra balancing, energy healing?
Right. So you want to know how I release the energy. So
Exactly.
once I identify what the emotion is. So example, I ask you, what's the underlying reason why every time you think about your wife, you see red? And I ask, well, what emotion is it? I find the emotion, and let's say it's the emotion of grief. Okay. I use the acupuncture meridian, the governing meridian that flows from our heads all the way down. I use a little thing like this. This is magnets, and I swipe your head for your governing meridian, and I release the energy. And once that energy is released from our governing meridian, the energy is gone and there is no more of that vibration. And physiologically, when I do this, people have all kinds of different reactions. Some people start to uncontrollably laugh. Some people start to uncontrollably cry. Some people become very dizzy, shivering. Some people get, run to the bathroom right away. Once that energy leaves, you see a whole different person. They can now look at their wife, talk to her about what's happening with the kids, and not feel like, okay, I got to go red in the face every time we have a conversation about, okay, who's taking our child. And this truly heals people's lives, because you understand, once you have divorce in your life, you're still in that person's life all your life. And you have to share those kids, and you have to be able to communicate. But how do you communicate without having to rip each other's throats out and become sick over it?
How do you do this virtually? Because I know that, showing the Meridian device, how is that done virtually?
So what happens is, because you give me permission to take your energy on and I test myself, I then use my governing meridian to swipe the magnet on my head and clear the energy on myself, with the intent that I'm working on you. And because energy is everything, the intent is everything, is my intent that I'm going to be you. Everything works and it clears off on you, and you'll have the physiological effect. So you'll start to cry while I'm on, FaceTime. Sometimes I do it through an email. I work on people, they don't even know I'm working on them, and I send them an email, and it works just as well.
This stuff is real. And this is real. Yeah, I know people can be skeptical. I get it. Yes. I totally understand it.
I get it too.
If you, even though I've worked in the metaphysical world on the marketing side since 25 years, it was only in the last 3 years that I realized this is real. Basically, I was skimming a stone across the metaphysical water. I never dipped my toe in the water or jumped in. And then when I did, I was like, oh, and just what you're saying, the first Reiki session I ever had was virtual, just about 2 years ago. And we didn't even talk. It was a text. Well, beginning about 8 o'clock, be in a comfortable spot, just relax, no electronics, low lights, light a white candle if you can.
Right.
I'm like, all right. And I thought I felt, and I'm just saying this, it's not about me, but I want to illustrate the energy transfer. Mm-hmm. I thought I felt something going from my feet to my head, back down to my feet. And I try to say, no, that's you. Maybe you're wanting to feel that because, somebody's doing something energetically 1,500 miles away. All right. So I sat with it. 45 minutes later, I get a text. Okay, I'm done. And then 55 minutes later, I get a text. And this person said to me, all right, this is what I found. I cleared this out. I did this. I did that. But I have to share this with you. I got a vision of you while I was working on you virtually, of you taking me on a little tiny boat through like weeds and reeds. And we're looking at a little sea life. And she said, I don't know what this is. This is by text. Again, we didn't even talk. I don't know what this is, but I feel like I need to share it with you. And my Zen spot is going kayaking. And I love going in salt water because I love looking at the sea life. And I'll just float among the reeds and the weeds with a drink, a beer, just put my feet up and I just watch. And that's my, okay.
Right.
How would anybody be able to find that out? You're not going to look on Facebook. That's a personal thing. I don't post, everything that I do. How would somebody know? So for me, that was my validation. aside from the fact of after that energy clearing session, feeling clarity, feeling better, feeling lighter, she was able to tell me that. And
Right.
that sold it, okay. And then I had other sessions with others after that, kind of similar experiences, but it was transfer of energy, just like you're talking about, just like you
Right.
don't even need to talk to the person as long as the intent is there.
Right. And that's what intuitive means, that when we can hook up to your energy, a lot of us are able to see, to know, to feel. And that's what she did. She used her claircognizance to be able to see what was happening with you. A lot of us are clairsentient and clair, we have the knowledge, the knowing, I'm like that. I know once I connect to someone, I know which questions to ask. I know how to dig. I already know where do I need to go? Where do I need to dig to give this person a healing? What do I need to release? What's priority?
Okay,
And
can
that's
I
what I
jump in there? Because I really want to know this. When you work with somebody for the first time, do they have to tell you their story? Do they have
No,
to tell you what's going on?
absolutely not. And this is what my clients always say. This is like having therapy without me having to speak, because she just asks my questions, tests me through my arms, and gets to the root of the problem. I sit there and nod my head because she's on point 100%. She knows it's there, and I don't have to speak. And this is a great modality because a lot of people, they just don't want to go through their emotional garbage again.
Yeah.
It's painful for them. Traumas, abuse, women that have been abused, a lot of painful personal stuff. How, people don't want to talk about it.
This is a game changer right there.
Yeah. And I'm
People
not a
don't know that.
therapist. Right. And that's what I'm saying. If you've gone, and I'm not knocking going to the psychologist, okay? I think
Absolutely.
everybody has an important place. But if you've gone to the psychologist for 25 years and you're talking about the same thing, and it's like that toilet bowl that, it never flushes, it just swishes but never flushes,
Yeah.
then keep an open mind. And if something is not working for you, you have nothing to lose. This is not invasive. This is not surgery. Keep an open mind and try something new, because you don't know, it might work for you. Because at the end of the day, Steve, I have a master's degree. I need to know, why does this work scientifically? Not just the metaphysical, but how does this work scientifically? And
Yeah.
this is how I bought into it, because the courses that I took, I had to take these courses with medical doctors, with integrative medicine, with chiropractors, with all kinds of different, from the medical point of view, to really buy into it. Because again, I don't want hocus pocus. I want to know, how does this work? Why does this work? And now I understand how it works from a medical point of view, and I understand how it works from the scientific and also from the metaphysical. And you know what? It's the same thing. It's just bridging it together. It's bridging the medical and the scientific, not medical and scientific. It's bridging the scientific and the holistic, the metaphysical together to bring a healing. And this is where I believe people get the healing, and this is where we're going forward. In 20 years, this is where our medicine is going to be. And medical doctors are going to be learning about this integrative approach, which is a very smart approach. You just have to keep an open mind and not think that it's some kind of, what is this crazy stuff that you're doing?
And I'm sure that when you first started, you were like, really? How's this even going to work? And you have such a deep background that alone sells it for me, because you were probably skeptical in the beginning.
Of course.
And as you went along, it's like, okay, that makes sense. Oh, that actually works. That works. But it all of this stuff goes back to principles that, go back to that. What's that guy's name? Einstein?
Albert Einstein and Tesla. This is what they were
Yes.
talking about. They were talking about energy and how to heal with energy. And that was in 1945, where they had the physicists, the consortium came together. There are pictures of them sitting there, talking about this stuff, and they got nixed for other reasons, but it was nixed.
Yeah.
But it still works. And this is why energy healing, it works. There's Reiki, there's acupuncture, there's the emotion code, there's theta healing. There's like quantum healing, you name it, they have it. It's finding the right modality for you. There is also the neuroemotional technique, which is, Dr. Deb and Scott, why can't I think of their last names? But it's the neuroemotional technique, which is a great technique that was now shown on Grey's Anatomy as an alternative healing for post-traumatic stress disorders, because it goes into the subconscious, identifies the root cause of the problem, and releases it. Another wonderful technique. I see a little bit of problem with it because you have to remember it consciously. You have to remember the trauma consciously, whereas Dr. Bradley Nelson, who created the emotion code, doesn't care about remembering it cognitively, because the trigger is not from the conscious, it's from the subconscious. That's what rules our world. 95% is what rules is our subconscious. So remembering something consciously doesn't heal it. What does heal it is getting to the root cause of it from the subconscious, releasing it, and then seeing the effects. And like I always say, you can't make it up. The results speak for themselves. The amazing triumphs and the amazing recoveries that we see with children, with adolescents, people in their 30s, 40s, traumas, animals is amazing. Horses that have been abused.
I didn't even think about animals until you brought it up. I know you can do Reiki on animals, chakra balancing, but not to this degree. We're out of time. This is fantastic. I could just keep going. I mean, get me started on Nikola Tesla. I've been studying him. By the way, the majority of his experiments were done about 20 minutes from where I sit right here. Just fascinating. Mila, if somebody wants to start this process or even start the conversation to healing through energy holistically, what do they do?
Well, they can contact me through innerwisdomenergy@gmail.com. They can call me at 732-515-3393. Leave me a message, and I will be more than happy to have a introduction session with them to kind of, talk to them and see if it's a good fit for them. And I always say, try something once. Whether it's with me, with anybody else, try it once. Keep an open mind, because if nothing else helps, your body has a way to heal itself. Just try it. Keep an open mind.
I'm always excited about this stuff, but it's like you threw caffeine at me. You threw holistic caffeine at me. And now I'm like, whoa, super cool.
I love it.
Fantastic talking with you. And thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you so much.
And I'm very much looking forward to getting together with you next time, because we're going to learn even more, and it's all good.
Yes, next week. Take care.
We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.